joining us now is State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So you have said that Secretary Rubio is skipping these talks due to logistical issues. Can you give us any more specifics on why the secretary will no longer attend?
You know, I really will not speak to issues that have landed regarding negotiations or diplomatic discussions, but he has a tweet out. There's been certainly more discussions in general. We know General Kellogg certainly has been in London. So things are certainly moving on and being discussed. You just had a clip, of course, from the vice president in that regard. So that's the extent to which I'll address that.
The secretary is canceling this trip to London at a critical time when both he and the vice president have said that they're willing to walk away from this if there is not progress made. And I think that that is key here. Does this have anything to do with Zelensky rejecting a key part of the U.S. proposal, which is recognizing Russian control over Crimea?
Well, you know, most of what you're asking also relies on speculation, relies on maybe an individual report or rumors or even gossip.
What specifically?
So I'm certainly all of what you've said is details regarding what maybe was reported or amused about what maybe was presented, but that's not what we're going to do here. And that doesn't help the nature of the genuine conversations, the genuine summits, the genuine exchanges between leaders. You've got people, certainly in the United States, the President of the United States and the Secretary of State, who've made it clear their commitment. But he also has said that, in fact, if there's a point where people don't seem to be serious, at NATO, he noted it would be a matter of weeks where we determined whether Russia was serious. And of course, the Secretary has made it very clear that we are not going to have meetings about meetings. We're not going to have this drag on for a year. This is about ending the carnage, stopping the madness that is going on, creating a full ceasefire so that people will stop dying. Now, if you've got one changed meeting, it's interesting that there's a focus on that. The fact of the matter is, leading up to this and after this will be the kind of diplomacy that the world has not seen before, led by President Trump, to get these intransient kind of situations to the table so that we can have a resolution. That continues, and the American people and the world has seen the commitment of Trump and Rubio in this regard.
All right, let me just follow up with that, because what I said is actually what Zelensky himself said. This wasn't just, reporting that's floating around out there by anonymous sources. Zelensky himself said that he will not accept Russia controlling Crimea, which is part of the U.S. proposal. In 2014, then Senator Rubio, now Secretary of State, said, quote, "It's quite shocking and frankly outrageous how they're getting away with this," talking about Russia's invasion of Crimea. By making Russian control part of the peace deal proposal, is the U.S. letting Russia get away with it?
Let's make something quite clear here. This is not going to be discussed on TV, not between you or me. It's not going to be a discussion over TV or television or dinner or anywhere else. That these are, President Zelensky, I respect a great deal, and he's going to say what he needs to say. But there's a reason why you do want to be able to sit down and talk, and it's why the Secretary has been committed to that constantly for the last 100 days. It has been a hallmark of his secretariat up to this point. Getting to peace and ceasefires is a hallmark and a North Star of President Trump's administration, and it's working because it's not a debate on television. It's a discussion between the men and women who have an impact on this and can make decisions. And again, you'll hear these leaders say things independently in op-eds or to television anchors. But what matters is when they sit down. And this has been happening, and it's going to continue to happen. And of course, we will see, as the Secretary has said. Well, that is what Secretary Rubio has already pointed to, and that it will not go on forever. It will not go on for months, but it's a matter of what these individuals, what they know in their private conversations through diplomatic negotiations and conversations and meetings is not something that is fair to discuss on television, speculate about, or amuse about. Their success is based on their actions, and it does not come from a conversation like this on television.
Secretary
Well,
Rubio
I
made the
think I've
comments
answered that.
himself and
I've
J.D. Vance that
answered
they're willing to
this.
walk away, and you
I've
have
said-
Ukraine saying that it would not agree
Yes,
to a
of
key
course.
part of the U.S. proposal. So
I
it is
know
very
you-
fair
you
to ask
really-
about that and to press about that.
Let me just say, and I've answered you multiple times about the difference between genuine negotiations, which the president has, of course, encouraged, and his vision involves that. Secretary Rubio has, of course, engaged in that, as has the president with Putin of Russia. But for you, I know you want to have a sense of what ratings might be or pulling people in.
No, it's not
but
that.
It is,
We're just trying to get answers for our
of
viewers.
course
It's not
it is.
any of that.
They
Okay,
have
I want to
answers
ask
from
you
the
about something
actions
else,
of the
and that
State
is what's going
Department
on at the
and
State
the White
Department.
House. And we will not have this debate. Certainly, it's not going to be a negotiation between you and me, and you know that. I know that, and the audience should know that this is a dynamic that is very different than this kind of an exchange, which is unfortunate.
Okay. You are the State Department spokesperson. It is very fair for me to ask you basic questions
trying to be.
about what has been said publicly.
And
So
for
I also
you
want
to
to go up to what's
accept
going on
my
at the State
answers.
Department.
And for
Okay,
you
but
to
some of your
accept my
you didn't
answers.
answer some of my questions, which is why I followed up, which is my job.
Of course I did.
I want to
I
ask you
answered
about
it.
the shakeup
I
at the
didn't
State
answer it the
Department.
way
Just
you wanted
unveiled.
me to answer it.
Okay,
That's the
not
difference.
true.
I answered them, but
Let me
not in the
ask
way
you about
that you
what is
wanted.
going
Of
on.
course it's true.
Tammy, let me ask you what is going on within the State Department. It doesn't help anyone, any of our viewers, unless I can get the question out. According to senior officials and documents obtained by CNN, Kylie Atwood just laid it out. Offices that focus on war crimes and global conflict are being eliminated. Why were those offices
they're not.
targeted? And are they?
No, they're
okay,
not.
so they're not. So help. Okay, so
They're
fill
not
us
being
in, 'cause-
eliminated. Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on? Please fill us in with some information.
Sure. Well, yesterday, the secretary had an opinion piece. He also had a statement that he'd made. I did a full briefing here at the State Department, making it clear what was going on. And I'll reiterate it here now, is that this is definitely a consolidation here at the State Department. The bureaus, certain bureaus that have been discussed of being eliminated are not being eliminated. They're being moved into another bureau. Perhaps they're being consolidated. But the work that matters to people, that has always mattered to the State Department, that we are the hallmark of, continues. And it is a dynamic where you've got such a system that has been moving and growing so large to where it has become unmovable and dysfunctional to being able to get the work done that the American people want done. This is a matter of maintaining the traditional element of what the State Department has stood for, which is diplomacy around the world, functioning frameworks that actually we can get things done in a faster manner in this modern age. And this requires cutting down a system that has become bureaucratic, constipated, unable to move. And these changes will maintain the nature and the importance and the values of what we've wanted, what is important to diplomacy here and around the world, by making it more condensed, more nimble, more effective, and more efficient.
Are the priorities changing as a result?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, the people will see that the priorities that they care about, which again is the matter of the spreading of democracy, the values of the United States moving around the world, the values of the Trump administration as reflected in the vote, the mandate he got in November, is that Americans want for America to be great again. They want the values of America, which is personal freedom and democracy, to be acceptable around the world. And that can only happen when you've got a voice at the State Department and information moving through that is clear, that is about making the State Department great again and making it possible to actually get things done. We know bureaucracy, whether it's in business or in government or anywhere else, at schools, slows things down. It keeps things from being able to happen. And it's about making sure those values are implemented and actually get things done and are being able to be enjoyed by the world as the world becomes a better place.
I want your thoughts on the case of
Sure.
Ksenia Petrova. She's a Harvard cancer researcher jailed right now by immigration authorities. Petrova fled to the U.S. from Russia after protesting Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Now she faces deportation back to Russia because she didn't declare some frog embryos that were part of her research at a customs check. Does the administration intend to send her back to Russia? Are you looking in this case, despite the obvious danger she would face there?
Well, I'm not in a position to speak of anything that certainly is in the legal process now or something to which you should speak to DHS or to the DOJ.
Just to follow up on that, though, over 340 students, faculties, and researchers have had their visas revoked this year. Of course, the State Department, under the law, has wide latitude to make moves on that point. But are you concerned that that could have a chilling effect and dissuade the best and the brightest talent overseas from coming to the U.S.?
You know, I think what dissuades people who have talent from coming to the U.S. is conditions of crime in our cities, was an open border, is the nature of things being unsure or safe in your own neighborhoods or even on your own campus. But on the issue of specifics, certainly that's not appropriate to discuss, but the American people want there to be some kind of order, and we are applying an order that has always existed about the nature of what you say to get into this country, and that it is not a birthright, and that we will take seriously if you do things that require your removal from this country.
All right, and just to note, some of them have not been charged.
Thank
but
you.
Of course, as I pointed out, the State Department, not all of them have been
Thank you.
charged. Thank you very much,
Well,
Tammy Bruce. I really appreciate
we're
you
not going to
coming on
speak
the show.
about the legal dynamics, but thank you.
That's
Sure.
okay, but thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
I do appreciate your time coming on the show, talking about these important
Sure.
issues. I hope you'll come back. Thank you.
Sure.